Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. I'm your host, Jason Aiken. In this week's episode, I will be discussing Doc Ardan, City of Gold and Lepers, written by Guy DeArmond and adapted and retold by Jean-Marc and Randy Lofficier. The book is published by the Lofficier's Black Coat Press and is available in paperback, nook, and kindle formats. The cover is illustrated by Dean Zachary. Doc Ardan's full name is Doctor Francis Ardan. He is a French pulp hero created by Guy DeArmond, likely a pen name, according to the Lofficiers, and he first appeared in 1928. The City of Gold and Lepers was his first appearance. It was published in the French magazine Science et Voyages, and I'm sure I am completely butchering that pronunciation. It was published from the May 1928 through the November 1928 issue. Ardan would later appear in The Troglodytes of Mount Everest in 1929 and The Giants of Black Lake in 1931. Both of these tales will be translated and retold by the Lofficiers and will be available in a single volume from Black Coat Press sometime in 2015. The cover to this new volume by Yaws looks amazing, by the way. First off, I should say the Lofficiers have been prolific in two areas regarding what has come to be known as French pulp fiction. Firstly, they have published a great deal of English translations and adaptations of French fiction with their Black Coat Press imprint. These include stories featuring pulp-like characters, as well as proto-science fiction and steampunk tales. They have also added to the Wold-Newton universe framework. Philip Jose Farmer came up with the concept of the Wold-Newton family, while Winscott Eckert coined the term of the Wold-Newton universe, which not only encompasses the Wold-Newton family, but also the non-Wold-Newton family members who inhabit the same shared universe. The Lofficiers have added to the Wold-Newton universe by creating a website titled The French Wold-Newton Universe, which brings additional French pulp heroes into the larger Wold-Newton universe. French characters such as Arsène Lupin and Monsieur Lecoq were already present in the Wold-Newton family itself, but the Lofficiers' website sheds light on some more obscure French pulp characters. Though they are called French pulp characters, in reality, they come from a variety of media, including novels, magazines, and movie serials. French pulp has seemed to have gained quite a following in of itself in recent years. Their publishing and creative mythography intertwine in their Tales of the Shadowman series they edit and publish at Black Coat Press. This is a yearly anthology series that puts the French Wold-Newton universe into practice, featuring new tales of French pulp heroes teaming up with each other, as well as pulp heroes from other countries. These can range from well-known heroes to some pretty obscure individuals. In addition to the Tales of the Shadowmen series, they also publish Rick Lay's Shadows of the Opera in Sisters of the Shadows fiction that chronicle Rick's take on the Shadow's origin and his ties to French literary and pulp fiction. If you are a fan of crossover stories, definitely be sure to check these series out on the Black Coat Press website. Fans of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics that became interested in the French characters, such as the Nyctalope and Fantomas, should definitely visit the Black Coat Press website, as they appear in not only their own translated novels, but the Tales of the Shadowmen series as well. The same can be said for Doc Ardan. Doc Ardan first appeared in 1928, which predates Doc Savage's first appearance in 1933. So he wasn't originally a character who physically resembled Doc Savage, as he does on the covers to the Black Coat Press books. The original artwork shown on the Black Coat Press website kind of depicts him as a stereotypical explorer. It appears the Lofficiers leave the possibility open for Doc Ardan to be a young Doc Savage, operating under an alias. According to the introduction, Ardan, or Ardent, the T being silent in French, means fierce, fiery, wild, or savage, which would be a fitting alias. The Lofficiers also speculate in the foreword that Ardan may be related to Michael Ardan from the story From the Earth to the Moon, as well as Gale Arden from the Flash Gordon series. I think the Lofficiers are doing something similar to what Philip Jose Farmer did with J.H. Rosny's Iron Castle novel that came out from Daw Books in 1976. Farmer's byline on Iron Castle reads, "Translated and retold in English by Philip Jose Farmer." Farmer did more than just translate from the original French book. He added his own elements to the story and brought the title into his Wool Newton concept. The Lofficiers' byline on this book reads, "Adapted and retold by." And when reading this, I found a few passages where I believe they have followed suit with Farmer. One in particular that mentions the country of Wakanda and alludes to a unique metal native to that African land. This really jumped out at me, as coincidentally, Wakanda is the home of the Black Panther in Marvel Comics. I also have a suspicion that Arden's physical description was altered from the original text, in order to be more along the lines of Doc Savage's. There's also a few lines about Doc Ardan's service in World War I. I'm not sure if these were in the original story or not, but they could be a nod to Farmer's Doc Savage Escape from Loki, which depicts a young Doc Savage serving in World War I. Or perhaps the original Doc Ardan really did serve in World War I. Now, the city of Gold and Lepers also features a character named Dr. Natus, which is Satan spelled backwards. He appears to be a pastiche of Sax Rohmer's Fu Manchu. Now, Fu Manchu first appeared in 1913, so it's completely possible Natus was inspired by him. In this adaptation and retelling by the Lofficiers, it's obviously meant to be a young Doc Savage squaring off against Fu Manchu under these two different aliases. The story starts off with a 25-year-old Doc Ardan exploring the Koko Nor region of China near the Kunlun Mountains. He is hoping to be the first man to completely map the area. Ardan and his party have a run-in with bandits, with only Ardan escaping alive. He is rendered aid by some locals, and is able to get back on his feet and resume his journey. Ultimately, he winds up in the clutches of the evil but brilliant Dr. Natus, after he spends the night in a booby-trapped roadside temple. He discovers that Natus is the ruler of an underground kingdom of slaves, who he keeps in check with an aggressive strain of the leprosy virus, which he also injects into Ardan. Should any of his slaves leave the kingdom, the virus would activate, and they would die on the spot. Natus assures Ardan that he has bigger plans for him than being just an average slave, though. He sees the potential in the young scientist, and hopes he will join him in his plans. Of course, Ardan is having none of that, so he begins his plotting to overthrow the Mad Doctor. Later in the story, a heroine named Louise Ducharme is abducted by Natus, and she and Ardan join forces to escape and topple the tyrant. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised at how good this book was. I'm not sure if it's D'Armand's original storyline, the Lofficier's adaptation, or a combination of both, but I really liked it. It's quite polished, and it's a really well-told story. I'll be honest, I read it from the point of view like I was reading about a young Doc Savage. While it didn't always feel 100% like Doc, it was very close. One noticeable difference is that Ardan isn't quite the physical paragon that Doc Savage is. He knows how to handle himself in a fight, but he doesn't appear to be on the Ubermensch level that Doc Savage is. This could be explained due to his younger age, or you could read it that he's a completely different character if you want to. One thing Ardan is, however, is a polymath, with knowledge of various scientific fields. He's also resourceful as all hell. If you're a Pulp hero fan and enjoy adventures set in exotic locations, then you should do yourself a favor and check out Doc Ardan. The Black Coat Press website has a sample PDF for you to download, and samples are available on Amazon for the Kindle and bnn.com for the Nook as well. Also, to get the Kindle version, you would just need the Kindle app, so you could read it on any device that has the Kindle app, even on your desktop if you wish. I'll put a link to where you can buy and download the book in the show notes. This was my first episode covering a French pulp hero, and I hope to do more. I'm currently reading the Lofficier's adaptation of Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera, who was an inspiration for The Shadow. I'll be sure to do an episode on that in the near future. In the meantime, I'm excited for the new Doc Ardan novel coming out in 2015. I'm also going to be reading all of the Doc Ardan stories available in the Tales of the Shadowmen books that I can get my hands on. I've read Win Scott Eckert stories in the early Tales of the Shadowmen volumes featuring Ardan, which are very Doc Savage-like, and I love them. Some other writers have used him in their stories, and I'm curious to check those out too. That's it for this week's episode. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm at Pulp Crazy on Twitter and facebook.com/pulpcrazy. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/pulpcast. You can also email me at pulpcrazy@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.